Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is Transfers Live. As you can see, I'm on my own for once. No Joe Smith tonight. Well, there is a Joe Smith. He's producing this show. But we have got all the latest transfer news and some other news as well. We'll be talking about Saul Niguez, Ruben Neves, Paul Labille, Pogba, Erling Haaland, Anthony Martial, Axel Tuanzebe. But before we get into all that as well, there's a little bit of an update on this weekend's game against Preston, or should I say, the game that's not taking place against Preston now, because United have fallen foul to COVID. They've given us an update on the game that was scheduled to go ahead this Saturday at Deepdale. There was a statement issued earlier this evening, and it says, I'll read the full statement. Maintaining COVID security is a priority for Manchester United. Following routine testing of the first team training group today, we have identified a small number of suspected positive cases. This has led to those people isolating pending further tests. As a precautionary measure based on COVID protocols, we have taken the difficult decision that we will now not be able to play the friendly match against Preston North End this Saturday. We regret the disruption to Preston North End and disappointment caused to fans. Obviously, not great news. Get involved in the comments as well. Let us know what you think about that. Hit the like button, hit share, and give us a subscribe. A lot of people looking forward to the game against Preston, understandably. We've waited a long time to be able to go to football matches. Deepdale as well. It's a nice ground. I went to watch United play Preston there a few years ago in the FA Cup. Do you remember that one? I remember after the game, Stephen Howson spoke to Bobby Charlton on Full Time Devils on the fan cam. If you can be bothered having a look at that one, you should be bothered because it's a good fan cam because it features Sir Bobby Charlton. But yeah, bit of a shame that that's not happening. You do worry, don't you, with that game getting cancelled, with United, a lot of United players not having as much of a pre-season as you'd like, that this is just going to sort of add to the feeling that for the opener against Leeds, we're not going to be anywhere near ready. So a little bit of a concern there. We'll keep you posted if there's any updates. United do need to start getting some match practice in. We know that, I think he's only had, really, is it Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Jesse Lingard and Mason Greenwood, if you can call Jesse Lingard a first team. I think he probably will be a first teamer for the Leeds game because it was that short. Mason Greenwood is disposable so far during pre-season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think the likes of Bruno Martial are getting closer, but I'm not sure what's happening with Pogba. I don't think Pogba's back training yet. I don't think Lindelof is as well. I think the England lads that went away aren't back yet as well. So we are playing a little bit of catch-up. And when you saw what happened last season, when in the sense we had that one game against Aston Villa in pre-season, we went into the opening day against Crystal Palace and we were well off the pace. And it affected us, didn't it? It took us a little while to get going last season, especially at Old Trafford. Our home form early doors was awful. So you hope that this doesn't happen again and that missing this weekend's game doesn't have a sort of knock-on effect, that we don't have that little bit of match sharpness that we need going into the season, because we know the games do start coming thick and fast and we know other teams are getting prepared. They are having games and we want to be able to start as well as, or as prepared as we can be. So that game's not happening. Bit of a shame. Thoughts of everyone. It's like some tragedy. Thoughts of everyone who was going to Deepdale. Well, I know it's disappointing. I've been in a few groups with a few of the lads on the WhatsApp who were going to go down there, obviously upset about it. So, yeah, that's not happening. We'll find out more details as to who may and may not have COVID. It sounds like, me and Joe were chatting about this a minute ago, and it sounds like they've taken a lateral flow test or whatever, and that's come back positive, and then they're going to have was it PCR test or whatever, not real test, but the more sort of official test to find out who it is and whether they're available in the future. And when we hear anything, we'll let you know, and I'm sure Manchester United will keep us updated as well. Surav Mukherjee in the super chat says, thoughts on Pogba's situation. Personally, I don't think we should entertain any absurd demand. We should let him leave, utilise Donny, and get a DM instead. I will be getting to Paul Pogba because there is a bit of news. There's a couple of stories doing the rounds today about Paul Pogba. I'll move on to them in a little while. Before we get to that, Raphael Varane, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been speaking about Raphael Varane. I mean, a massive sort of coup for United, shall we say, getting a player of the quality of Raphael Varane for such a reasonable price. I mean, when you look at the numbers and the figures being mentioned and what it seems to be, around the £40 million mark for a player like Raphael Varane, who we've spoken about loads on this channel, and I sort of never get bored of talking about him now we've got him. Multiple Champions League winner, 4 Champions Leagues, 3 La Ligas, a World Cup as well. Just a fantastic defender, still only 28 years old, got a lot to offer, and it's mouth-watering the prospects of him linking up with Harry Maguire, who's just had a fantastic Euros and a very good season as well, I hasten to add. It does sound good. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's obviously pretty chuffed about it as well. Solskjaer speaking about it for the first time since it was announced that Manchester United, as you can see from the graphic, announced the deal in principle. And he went on to say about Varane, he said, I'm very happy that we've managed... Oh, hang on a minute. I'm very happy that we've managed to get a deal with Real Madrid. He's a proven winner. Sir Alex Ferguson was very close to signing him. With him, we have different ways of playing. It's funny that, isn't it? Because I mentioned this the other day. You go back, I think it's 10 years, we were heavily linked with him. And I think there was the tweet by Craig Norwood. You remember Mr. Craig Norwood, mate of mine, the original Tier 1, who was saying, we were looking at him for £3 million, I think, from Lons. At the time, as an 18-year-old, he obviously went to Madrid. I think he chose Madrid, to be honest. I think he just preferred that. Don't know why he went there. He didn't win anything there, did he? He was a disaster. But yeah, went to Madrid, and now we've got him 10 years later. Ollie's also gone on to say about getting him here and all that sort of stuff, that the club is working on the quickest possible solution to get everything sorted. Of course, there is a visa coming into England with Brexit and quarantining. Everything has to be done as quick as possible, but by the book. So, yeah, there's no surprises there. Obviously, it's just the way of the world at the minute, isn't it? With Brexit and all the rest of it, and quarantine and COVID. It's going to take a little while to get things sorted. But he's coming and he should be, hopefully, ready for the Leeds game and hopefully get some games in before then as well, making sure he's match fit. Because, as I said earlier, we are lacking a little bit of match fitness with some of our players. They haven't played a lot, or they haven't been back in with the squad yet. So you want to see Varane join up as soon as he can. When we had it last season with Cavani, I know it's a different situation. We signed Edinson Cavani at the 11th hour and we left it that late. He couldn't even play in the Newcastle game, let alone the first games. Not the case this time, Raphael Varane. The business for him has been wrapped up relatively quickly, and that's what you want to see from Manchester United. Moving a little bit quicker, in the transfer market, getting deals done, and also getting good deals done. It's not good getting deals done if you just get deals done that aren't decent players. But Raphael Varane, hugely talented. I'm looking forward to seeing him finally playing for Manchester United after he's been linked with us for the last 10 years. Should we move on to Saul Niguez? This one's been gathering a little bit of momentum on it for a few months now. He was linked with us, I think, a couple of years ago. There was talk of maybe him coming to United. Didn't seem to be a lot in it, did there? It was just sort of like, oh, maybe United could be in for him. Maybe he could be leaving Atletico. Things have moved forward a lot more since then. And it's now looking like United don't get too carried away. Let's have a decent sort of chance of signing him. You can see there, it says on the graphic, Saul can leave Atletico if a suitable offer is received. Manchester United and Liverpool are the two most likely Premier League suitors for Saul. Barcelona have also been linked with the midfielder. Now, Barcelona have got all sorts of issues going on when it comes to transfers. They had to sort of, Memphis Depay went there and had to take a pay cut after the original deal he signed, I think, because they couldn't afford him. So I don't know if they can get Saul Niguez. I'll have to wait and see. Liverpool, have to see what happens there. Pains me to say it, but obviously still a big club. He could be attracted by the prospects going to Liverpool. I don't know why anyone would want to choose Liverpool over Manchester United. It's a crazy decision, if you ask me. They've obviously got other options in midfield, but Wijnaldum has left, so they could be in for someone. They could be in for someone like Saul Niguez. But yeah, Manchester United are amongst the clubs rumoured to be in for him, and I think he'd do a very good job for us. Could be just what we need. I know there's a bit of discussion going on, a bit of debate. Is he an 8? Is he a 6? Is it an out-and-out 6 that we need, and does he fit the bill? Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think. Is Saul Niguez the answer to Manchester United's problems, shall we say, if you can call him that? The fact that we do always have to play Fred and McTominay, or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer feels the need to play Fred and McTominay. Would someone like Saul Niguez change that? Could it be a Saul Niguez, Paul Pogba if he stays, or Bruno Fernandes and Bruno Fernandes sort of trio in midfield? The Man United agenda says, big up Jay Motti. Thanks. I was on their channel earlier. Go and check out the Man United agenda if you haven't done already. Been doing some good stuff over there, all about Manchester United as you'd expect, and some other stuff as well. I'm going to dive into some of the comments. A lot of you talking about Ruben Neves. I will get to Ruben Neves in a minute. As you can see from the graphic, or as you saw from the thumbnail, it's almost like you feel if we get Niguez, we ain't going to get Neves, and vice versa. The question is, are we going to get either of them? I don't think either of them at the minute look likely. It doesn't look like the sort of you expect us to sign him. I'm not saying we couldn't, but it's not. It doesn't have that feel of like, Varane had a feel a week ago. He thought, actually, this is happening, or Sancho a month ago. We're not quite there yet. It's just it seems that these are doable transfers, and the doable transfers are players that could do a job for Manchester United. So there's lots of ifs and buts and maybes. Lots of love as well for Ruben Neves. He seems to be sort of winning in the who would you rather have? Who would you rather have? I'll ask you that question outright. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Saul Niguez or would you rather have Ruben Neves? A lot of people saying that it's James says Ruben will be perfect for us. Obson says Ruben Neves is a perfect signing. Mixolisi Zama says Ruben. Neo Zach said I'd love Ruben. Yeah, I mean a lot of people saying Ruben. Ronit Naka says Saul isn't a CDM. Dave Tyler says Saul, you always need good players at the club. Full stop. So you could say it's a little bit split. It seems like slight edging towards Ruben Neves in the comments that I've read, but I mean, it's not, that's not exactly a scientific method of seeing how many United fans or who United fans would prefer. I think either of those players would do a job. Personally, just my personal opinion, I'd probably rather have Saul Niguez, but I'm not so sure on Ruben Neves. I think he's decent. I just don't know. I know he always plays well against us. Is he that player we need? I'm not sure. But if we signed him, I won't be complaining. He's not like he's a bad player. I don't know. But we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Also on the Ruben Neves front, because as I said earlier, there has been a bit of a sort of an update with him. We've been linked with him. Again, this is one that sort of came about, didn't it, a few weeks ago. There was about a year or so ago, sort that maybe Ruben Neves could be a target at Manchester United. I think it was just because he liked scoring good goals against us, to be honest with you. I don't know if there was anything more than that. I don't know if the club ever made an offer or ever tried to buy him or even sort of, had any words with his agent or anything like that. I think it was just a case of, he's a good midfielder. He plays well against Manchester United. You can probably get him from Wolves. People putting two and two together and coming up with that. Now it says that the reports indicate that Wolves are ready to sell him. Wolves are going for a bit of a time of it, aren't they? I'm not a Wolves fan. They had the sort of spell a few years ago where they got promoted. They spent a lot of money. They've got money. I think they've got a billionaire owner. They've got the ties to Jorge Mendes, is it? The Portuguese super agent helps them bring in all these sort of Portuguese stars. And now it looks like the party might be over a little bit. If you look at it, they obviously lost Diogo Jota. They've lost the manager, Nuno. Jimenez obviously got injured. I know he's back playing now, I think he's back in training. But it's not a happy camp there, is it? To be honest with you, or not as happy as it has been. Maybe Ruben Neves could be on his way out. Reports suggest that Ruben Neves' transfer to Manchester United is closer to being completed, with Wolves needing to sell in order to raise funds. So maybe the purse strings are being tightened down at Molineux, and it looks like Ruben Neves could be used to fund other transfers. We'll wait and see what happens with that one. A good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I just don't know if that's the one for me I'd really be looking at. And it's weird, isn't it? Because I think, if we're being honest, when we were having these discussions about a month or so ago, or even last summer, talking about a CDM, we need a DM. Everyone agrees we need a DM, or most Manchester United fans agree we need a DM, or we need a midfielder. Neves wasn't a name you were hearing very often. And I don't even think it was about availability. I don't think people thought we'll never get him. I just think people had other preferences. Wilfred Ndidi, for example, was a name that you used to hear all the time. Bissouma was another name that you heard all the time. Even Yuri Tillmans, I know, another one from Leicester, but he was mentioned quite a lot. Not the same with Neves. So we'll wait and see what happens. If they're looking to sell, maybe Ollie looks at it and goes, if we can get Neves for around, 40 million quid or whatever, that's an option. Also with Niguez, we'll have to wait and see. Does he want to come to Manchester United? Have Manchester United got the money? Do we need to sell someone? There was talk that maybe Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, need to move one or two players out to fund more signings after the signings of Raphael Varane and Jadon Sancho. UK Strain says, I've got a ticket for the Everton game in a week or so. Will the game still go ahead? It's scheduled to go ahead. We haven't heard anything differently. We'll have to wait and see. If we hear anything, or as soon as we hear anything, as soon as the club announce anything, we'll obviously post about it. We'll talk about it on the channel. I'm sure you'll hear about it all over socials as well. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if there are any changes, because as I said earlier, Manchester United have sort of issued a statement earlier saying that the Preston game is not going to go ahead because of some first team players or the first team training group are having a number of suspected positive COVID cases. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Moving on from possible signings in Niguez and Neves to one that I just don't see happening whatsoever, but it's in the papers and it's being reported, so we'll talk about it because that's what we do. We let you know what's being discussed and we ask your opinion on it as well. It's not just about me waffling on with myself. Erling Haaland, you've heard of him, plays for Borussia Dortmund, scores quite a few goals. You know, got a dad that used to play for Leeds and City, but it's not his fault. He's been linked with United for a few years since he was at Molde for good reasons. United have always been interested in him. There's an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer connection as well. At one point, a couple of seasons ago, it looked like we were going to get him. We didn't obviously get him. He ended up going to Dortmund instead. Now there's rumours doing the rounds that United could be looking at a swap deal. You could see it there from the graphic. It says United considering a swap deal with Anthony Martial. There's also another article. The same article also says that Martial is being touted in a Barca move as well. So quite a lot going on there. Could United be trying to get Erling Haaland by offering Anthony Martial as a makeshift? Could they trying to be or could he end up going to Barcelona? I'll be honest with you. I don't see Dortmund going for that one. Now, I like Anthony Martial. I think he's a good player, and I've not given up on him. I know he's not had a great season. But are Dortmund going to take, what is he, 24, 25 now, I think, Anthony Martial? 25, thank you, producer Joe. 25-year-old player who's just scored 4 league goals in his last season for arguably the best young striker on the planet. Yes, we'd have to give him money as well, but how much money would we give him? And the thing with Dortmund as well, their sort of modus operandi is to get youngsters in and then sell them and then replace them with other youngsters. That's kind of what they do. So, you know, they've already got another good youngster sort of who's doing well in Jude Bellingham. They went and got him when he was 16, was it 17? And now he's already worth quite a lot of money and he's progressed. They did the same thing with Erling Haaland, got him as a teenager. Did the same thing with some kid called Jadon Sancho. I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, they get him in young and then they move him on, they sell him, and that's how they sort of, that's their business model, how they keep afloat or whatever, and how they keep going. I don't think they're going to sell us Erling Haaland this summer anyway, if it is this summer. And I don't think they're going to take Anthony Martial as part of that swap deal. I think what they'd want to do is get a younger player in, someone that they can potentially sell in a few years, and or get a lot of money for Erling Haaland. And look at how much money Manchester United have spent this summer. Okay, we've already bought in 2 players. We spent, I think, just around 110, 150 million quid. I don't know how much more we've got left to spend. We may have to sell to buy. So if we do a swap deal for Martial, for Haaland, we're going to have to give Dortmund, I think, quite a bit of money as well. I think potentially that deal you'd be looking at, how much you're going to value Martial at? 50 million, 40, 50 million, if being sort of realistic. How much is Haaland worth? Probably 90, 100 million. So you're probably going to have to give him at least Martial and 50 million. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think about that one. Do you see Anthony Martial going as a swap deal? Also, you see him going to Barcelona. He's been linked with Barcelona. They've got problems, money problems. They have made a few signings this summer, but I don't know, can they afford Anthony Martial? How much would Manchester United be willing to let him go for? Would Manchester United be willing to let him go? I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer always backs the players he's got on his books, even if it's someone like Alexis Sanchez on loan at Inter Milan or whoever. But does he rate him? Does he still want him? I still think Ole thinks Anthony Martial can do his job. We'll have to wait and see, though. That transfer to me, file under extremely doubtful. Swapping Martial for Haaland, I just don't see it. One transfer that's looking increasingly likely, almost by the day, is the transfer of Paul Pogba to Paris Saint-Germain. We know that Paul Pogba's got a year left on his deal. We know that he can leave in the summer for nout. We know that he's already left Manchester United for nothing once. We bought him back for 89 million, and it would be a bit of a shambles if he left again for nothing 5 years later or whatever, 6 years later. So there's talk of him going to Paris Saint-Germain. There's talk of him going for around, I think it's around 40-odd million quid. But well, there you go. It says it on the graphic there, 43 million quid. PSG weighing up that offer. Extension talks have stalled, meaning Pogba is left with just 12 months left on his current deal. I mean, in an ideal world, Paul Pogba stays, helps us win a title. Yeah. In an ideal world, Paul Pogba probably signs a new deal. I don't think either of those two things are happening. I think if he stays, he can sign, I think, a sort of pre-agreement in January. He's going to be sort of halfway out the door, maybe a little bit distracted. Maybe, you know, he's not saying his heart's not completely in it. I'm sure he'll always try his best, but any player would be sort of a little bit distracted if they knew they were going. Older fans remember when Mark Hughes announced he was going to Barcelona and played the rest of the season, and it just wasn't it wasn't great. But you know, the other option is that he sort of, if he doesn't go now for 43 million, or if he stays to the end of the season, it's not great either way, is it? 43 million for Paul Pogba isn't great. It's not, but is that perhaps better than letting him go, getting one more season out and letting him go for nothing? Also, if you get 43 million for him, can you bring in one of the players that I've already mentioned, or, you know, a Niguez or a Ruben Neves or a different midfielder? Is there another midfielder out there? Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think, if there is. Or, you know, does Donny van de Beek get a chance if Paul Pogba goes? I know there's a lot of players that still rate Donny van de Beek and think that he's not been given a fair crack at the whip, and probably right, he hasn't really. Was it 4 Premier League starts or something last season? Not enough. I still think Donny van de Beek's got a lot to offer, but, you know, he needs some game time, doesn't he? He needs to sort of show us what he can do in a Manchester United shirt. I know he was very good for Ajax, but we haven't really seen it yet for Manchester United, and that's not a criticism of him. I think that's just, you know, he's not played many games or not had many starts, so it makes sense that you need to see him play more before you can make a fair assessment as to whether he's good enough for Manchester United. Because for me, the jury's still out, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh no, he is good enough." Well, have we really seen that in the Manchester United shirt yet? I don't think we have. I'm not saying that's not, you know, he's not, but we need to see more of him. We'll move on from one Paul Pogba story to another one, which I just think it's a load of nonsense, but it's been reported. We'll talk about it. There's apparently, you know, there was a rumor of him going to Liverpool. Apparently Mino Raiola maybe, you know, looking at selling him to Liverpool, being offered there. I mean, this is like a similar thing that happened a few years ago. Do you remember when he was reportedly offered to Manchester City? And there may have been something in the City rumours, because he was asked about it and he didn't deny it at the time, Paul Pogba. So I'm not sure quite what went down there, but apparently, you know, there's rumours going around, or reports going around that Paul Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola, has offered the player to Liverpool. Don't see that happening. I don't know if he'd want to go to Liverpool, to be honest with you. I think if he leaves Manchester United, he wants to leave England. I think he wants to go to, you know, Juve or Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain. Also, Manchester United going to sell him to Liverpool? No, that's just not going to happen. Are they going to let his contract run down and him go to Liverpool for nothing? Maybe they could do, I suppose. They could, if he's not, you know, if no one else comes in for him and they can't sell him, then maybe his contract does run down. But at the end of it, does he then go to Liverpool? I don't think so. I don't think that happens. Chris BR says no one moves from United to the Scousers. It just doesn't happen, really, does it? I know Paul Ince ended up at Liverpool, and you know, vice versa. You've had Michael Owen, who's played at Liverpool and come to United. Well, they didn't make that switch automatically. They went via different clubs. So I just don't see this one happening at all. I'll just wrap this one up with one final story. Axel Tuanzebe, who's got one of the best chants at Old Trafford, or, you know, away grounds, whatever. He's being linked with a move away. I feel a bit sorry for Axel Tuanzebe, because he was a player that he was doing really well as a youngster. I'm pretty sure he won the Jimmy Murphy Player of the Year award. Everyone was raving about him. Went on loan to Aston Villa in the Championship, helped him get promoted, had a fantastic season, played loads of football. Comes back and you think, you know what? He's not that far away from the first team. He could be like third choice centre-back. Just had an horrific time with injuries. Showed us what he can do. We see glimpses, don't we? The game, obviously, in Paris against Paris Saint-Germain, where he was fantastic. But then you see the other side to it, where his form and his fitness aren't what they need to be. I think the Istanbul Başakşehir game, where he was subbed, I think, at half-time. He's just having a bit of a stinker. He is a very, very talented defender, and I think he's got a lot to offer. And I think this move that's being mooted, a Newcastle low move, makes a lot of sense to me. If he can go to Newcastle, play in the Premier League, show what he's about, show he's a Premier League player. He's not really done that yet. He had a good season in the Championship, but he's not shown that he can have a good season in the Premier League. So go to Newcastle, because he ain't going to get much of a look in, I don't feel, at Manchester United. He's got Maguire, Varane, Lindelof, and Eric Bailly all in front of him. So go and get some game time. Play under Steve Bruce, who knows all about defending. come back and become a Manchester United legend. That would be the perfect scenario for Axel Tuanzebe. I'm just going to have a look there. I think there's a super chat that sorry, I just clicked on my thing. I will get that up in a minute. Let us know what you think about that. Do you think Axel Tuanzebe does need a low move? Do you think he's got what it takes to make it at Manchester United, or do you think the jury's still out? You know, I mean, it's one of them, and it's difficult to say because he is talented, and we have seen glimpses of it in a United shirt. Like I said, that game against Paris, but we haven't seen it consistently enough. And injuries have just ravaged his time at United so far. Koth Mike in the super chat says, Motti, can you admit you're God for my Christian AA group? It's a secret. Don't tell anyone. I'm not God. Just because I work with Jesus doesn't make me God. I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to have more news in the morning as well. I think it's Joe Smith who's on in the morning. So he'll have all the latest updates. So we'll keep you updated if there's any new news on the COVID situation at Manchester United. Also, any developments in Ruben Neves or Saul Niguez, anything else as well. Make sure you're hitting like, share, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get the notifications as well. There's not going to be a game against Preston this Saturday, but we will have loads of content, loads of videos coming out as well. If you've not done so already, check out the interview myself and Adam McCall did with Raphael de Silva. Absolutely fantastic. What a character. Read through and through. I'm talking about Raphael de Silva, not just Adam McCall. So I've been Jay Motti. This has been Transfers Live. Thanks for watching.